Alrighty, well, it looks like it is officially 2 o'clock, so we will go ahead and get started. Um, for those of you new to homeschooling or Schiller Learning, Schiller Learning is part of the nonprofit Rising Stars Foundation, and our goal is to help you maximize your students' potential using multisensory techniques. Um, and we've got lots of resources to help you in that endeavor. We've got math and language arts curricula for pre-K to pre-algebra for the math, pre-K through fourth grade for language arts, and tons of awesome free resources at our blog. So do check out that as well as explore around on our YouTube channel. And welcome to Tuesdays at 2. I am your host, Antoinette Grossa. Um, Today, we are going to be taking a look at some tactile
What
activities
can I
that you can do so that if you have a tactile learner on your
do?
hands, you'll be able to support them and give them the tools that they need in order to learn through their dominant learning style. Tactile activities are really great for all students, but indeed essential if you have that child whose dominant learning style is the tactile. I do hope that while you're taking this short educator break with us today, that you will get to drink your coffee or whatever it is in your cup while it is still warm. Okay, so who is the tactile learner? Well, the tactile learner is someone who learns by, you know, fine motor movements rather than whole body movements. They like to get their hands on things and keep their hands busy. They learn primarily through the sense of touch. Um, and learn best through hands-on activities. Incorporating, related motions into the teaching is one way to strengthen tactile learners. And they like to, they enjoy a variety of touch stimuli. They enjoy building models or working with modeling materials such as clay, Play-Doh. Um, they may also, if those elements are not included in their instruction, they might stay engaged in their learning by doodling or drawing while you are explaining something. And so sometimes that can look like they are distracted. But if we're not providing that tactile component to the education, they're probably just trying to engage that so that they can indeed learn. And they're going to enjoy learning when those activities and manipulatives are included that engage that dominant learning style that they have. You may also find that your tactile learner uses hand gestures while speaking. If you've ever seen me speak in person, I do have the camera um, angled so that generally you don't see my hands, but I guarantee you that right underneath that line there, there are a lot of hand movements happening while I am talking to you. So I am one of those tactile people. I once actually subscribed to a magazine simply because I loved the feel of the paper. um, and so it is absolutely, if you are a tactile person, being able to indulge that is very positive. Okay, the tactile learner is going to enjoy field trips or visiting museums with hands-on exhibits. So keep that in mind while you are planning your outings. It is beneficial for them to have those um, hands-on components to their even their field trips. Okay, so let's take a look at some things that you can do. If you're using Schiller Learning, you know that you have tons of tactile elements included in your curricula. If you are not using Schiller Learning, we're going to be talking about some of the things that we do in Schiller Learning that you can add to any other program. Okay, and just mention if you do have questions during the presentation, just enter those into the chat box. We do work them in as best we can. Mm, There we go. And if you see me pausing during the session, that is because I do read those questions. I am reading and answering those questions real time.
Excuse me.
And okay, there we go. Okay, so let's take a look at some of those. Okay, first off is sensory tracing. Um, For this, you'll just need a couple of common household things. And we do include a sensory tracing tray in our Language Arts Kit A for pre-K kindergarten. But I can tell you, kids of all ages and even adults enjoy the sensory trays. This is one of the things that when we're exhibiting at convention, we have out, and it absolutely draws people to it over and over again throughout the event. Kids of all ages like this. Now, in Language Arts Kit A, we're using it for tracing out letters, but you can use it for letters, numbers, and more. The older student can, instead of practicing, tracing out letters, use this for tracing out math formulas. And all you need is a tray or cookie sheet with short sides, some quinoa. Now, in a Montessori classroom, they use sand for their sensory tracing, which is great for it. At Schiller Learning, we found that quinoa was a lot easier to clean up in your house in the event that your child is accidentally spilling some of that. The quinoa vacuums up very well. Quinoa is also less allergenic than sand. It has a really nice uh, feel to it. And it is less likely than sugar, salt, or sand to stick to little fingers, especially that might be clammy or sticky with something else. uh, and all you need is enough in the bottom of the tray to cover it. If the quinoa gets too deep, it's going to fall in on itself, and it is not going to be as good of a tracing experience. Also, with the just enough to cover the bottom of the tray, it also means that a simple shake erase is going to work. So all you have to do, the child doesn't have to smooth it all out or pick the quinoa up, and they can just shake it and it instantly erases whatever they have traced into it. Has anyone on the session today done the sensory tracing with quinoa? Tip: when the young child is doing the sensory tracing, to have them do a two-finger trace as opposed to just that single finger. The two-finger trace is actually helping to set them up for the pencil grip. So before the child is actually even formally writing, you can have them doing this sensory tracing, and then with that two-finger trace, it's going to help to make that position for the pencil grip seem very natural to them. And then all they have to add is the thumb once we put a pencil into their hand. So keep in mind, do that two-finger trace for young kids. It's going to help them with their pencil grip and help to avoid that claw of death that some kids get when they are writing. And when they have that real intense claw grip, it's going to tire out their hands far sooner than it would if indeed they had that proper tripod pencil grip, which is discussed, by the way, in our language arts kit A. It does formally introduce how to properly hold a pencil. Yes, so by not filling that quinoa tray real deep, you are going to avoid having it all in on itself. So glad that that tip is going to help you out with that. And again, I think you will find that kids of all ages just love that sensory tracing. Okay, next up is something that again, you can add to any subject for any age, and that is Play-Doh or some other similar modeling clay. If your child is gluten-free, that, by the way, is another uh, pro to using the quinoa is that it's a gluten-free. It's actually not even a grain, so it is not allergenic to most people. I did recently meet someone who was allergic to quinoa, and that's the only person I've ever heard of having that allergy. But you can find gluten-free recipes for modeling clay, as well as gluten-free options to purchase pre-made as well. The Play-Doh, by the way, is something that is often used in occupational therapy for helping to develop and build muscle tone in the hands, which is necessary for writing. And that is something that is beneficial at all ages to help reduce hand fatigue that can sometimes result from writing, especially again if your child has an improper pencil grip. So in our language arts A, we are using this for rolling out letters. So the child takes a bit of Play-Doh and takes that and rolls it out into a rope and then goes ahead and forms the letter. Again, this can be modified for any subject. It can be used for letters as well as numbers, or practicing spelling words, new vocabulary words, again, formulas. So this is something that can be added pretty much at any stage and age or subject. Okay, another tactile element that is great for all ages and subjects are sensory boxes. And these can be themed either by subject or season. So, for example, if we were doing a fall harvest sensory box, some of the elements that could be in there would be corn and mini pumpkins or gourds, uh, things of that nature. So you're going to have a filler material that could be something like packing peanuts. If you received some of those and want to reuse them, uh, repurpose those for something else, they could go as a filler material in your sensory box. Grains such as rice or quinoa, you want some sort of filler material in there. You can, by the way, also dye your filler material to go with your seasonal theme, or purchase um, a material that's just naturally in that color. So, by the way, in the the tracing tray that we looked at, you'll see that the quinoa that we're using is red. That is simply because we're using that natural light colored tray with that. So we opt for the red quinoa whenever possible because it provides a nice color contrast between the tracing material and the tray that's going to show through that. Quinoa comes in tan, red, or black. So if you're using a light colored tray, the red or black is nice. If you're using a dark cookie sheet, opting for that tan is going to give you a nice color contrast. And you can look for, natural color, naturally occurring colors for your filler material that will go with your seasonal theme. You can also use natural dyes to say dye your rice purple. You can use red onions, or of course, you can use food coloring to go ahead and dye that material uh, to go with your theme, be it subject or seasonal. You want natural elements as well as um, other objects, created objects to go with your theme. So let's say you were doing um, coming up for summer, a summer sensory box. You could have sand as your filler material, seashells, found objects, maybe driftwood from the beach. And for your, created objects, some sand toys or little plastic boats or sea animals. So you want to have a mix of created objects as well as natural elements and sensory elements. You want to have different textures in there as well. So sometimes it's nice to add different fabrics just so that you have a variety of textures in there too. So have fun with the sensory boxes. If you're doing a Montessori style homeschool, sensory boxes are one of those, fun things that you can change up for each season uh, to keep your open shelving fresh and interesting for the kids. And include in there, not just for the summer box, by the way, sand toys such as shovels, but to have a variety of tongs, spoons, or scoops in there for the young kids. That's going to help them with their pouring skills and fine motor skills, especially if they're going to pick some of that stuff up with tongs. Okay, so those are some general tactile activities that are great for any subject. And in addition to that, you want to explore concepts with manipulatives. One of the things that, even if you don't have Schiller Learning curricula, you probably have a mirror in your house. And this can be used for doing symmetry work. Our mirror, I love because it stands up very easily on your page. So the child can, even if they are working on symmetry in a book, see that the line of symmetry, the mirror image, and also use objects with that as well. So they can put, shape right up against there. So let them have fun with mirrors. And this is going to be great for geometry work, whether they are in elementary or even middle school. So you can hang on to your mirror when they get older too. Okay, so the movable alphabet for phonics and spelling. You've seen this in our presentations before, but this is truly an awesome material. Not only are they going to see the vowel patterns pop because of that color coding for the vowels and consonants, but with the movable alphabet for the tactile learner, it is just a superior material for another reason, and that is that they are getting to actually feel the letter shape. So that is reinforcing how that letter is created and the placement of that letter in the word. So this is going to be better even than a letter tile or that tactile tactile learner. So not only are they going to be able to move that around, but then actually feel the shape of the letter. If you don't have movable alphabet, it is available from a variety of resources. It is included in our language arts kit A for pre-K kindergarten. If you go with the digital version of that kit, there is a printable movable alphabet in there for you. As always, if you're going to be printing a manipulative, we just recommend printing that out on cardstock. Another option for the movable alphabet is to print that um, and then use it as a template to trace out the letters on felt. And then you can create a fabric movable alphabet for your child instead of just having that on paper if you go with that digital option. The digital kits, by the way, are a great option if you already have the materials or if you are overseas and looking to avoid the expensive international shipping. Our kits are heavy. They have tons of materials. You know, Math Kit 1 that alone is about 20 pounds. So that can sometimes be expensive to ship, you know, halfway around the world. Of course, it's still convenient because that means you have all the stuff. But with our digital kits, there are some, you know, printable manipulatives in there. And using those, like, for example, the movable alphabet as a template, you can use that to create a, you know, a fabric movable alphabet. And we're going to look at some other things that you can print with those digital kits too. Okay. Oh, and here's one of them, and that is the grammar symbols. This is another great tactile element that can be added to any language arts program that you're using. It is included in the Schiller Learning Language Arts B. And with this, there is a different shape for every single part of speech. You can see that that box has 9 parts of speech. You got the noun is the large black triangle. The shape actually helps to reinforce how those parts of speech are related. So you have the black triangle is the noun, the purple triangle is the pronoun, the blue triangle is the adjective, and then the smaller blue triangle is the article. So all of your noun related parts of speech are triangles. Then you have the large red circle, which is the verb. The smaller red circle is the adverb. Again, related shape, related part of speech. The preposition is that green crescent shape. Also gives you the feeling of linking two words with that swoop. And then the conjunction is that pink bar, the little pink rectangle, and interjection is that bold key shape. And then students can place those either above or below the words, and they'll actually be able to see the grammar patterns as they are placing those grammar shapes. There, again, there is a printable version of these with the digital kit. And this is another nice thing, you know, either printed on cardstock or using that printout as a template to create a felt set of those grammar symbols. Okay, so we can also manipulate inequalities. So we don't just have to see those with numbers on paper. You can use any pan balance. We do include a pan balance with our Math Kit 1, but don't get rid of your pan balance when you are finished with your Math Kit 1. Put that in a closet, hang on to it until you get to algebra, because this pan balance is also going to be fabulous for demonstrating to your algebra student that you have to do the same thing to both sides of the equation to keep that in balance. So this is, there are quite a few things that you can keep from those younger kids to help your older students down the road, just in a little bit of a different way. For manipulating inequalities, they can pair this with number cards, the operator set, and unit cubes, and simply be able to, place those unit cubes in both sides of the pan, and then show that inequality statement with the number cards and that operator set. If you have Math Kit 2, and give me, if you have a Math Kit 2 and did not have Math Kit 1, or you have language arts and not our math in the bonus craft section in your customer downloads, you have a craft which is making a balance. And so you'll be able to actually make a pan balance that they'll be able to do those same things with. So be sure to check out the balance craft in that bonus craft section. And even if you have Math Kit 1, your child is still probably going to, have a good time with that balance activity. And then again, use that when in pre-algebra or algebra 1 for demonstrating that you have to keep both sides of that equation the same by doing the same thing. Okay. Number cards and number tiles. The tactile learner absolutely loves these. They don't have to write for every single lesson. They can actually do operations by laying out those materials. So they can lay out the cards. You can see that they are sized and color coded for place value. That color pattern repeats for every new place value family. So you can, in a Word document or PowerPoint, create number cards for higher place values. So this is a material that you can um, create to continue to use in your upper grade levels. And so, for example, your 1000s, you can see how the ones color of green repeats for the 1000s. Your 10,000s would be blue, 100,000s red, and then 1 million's green, and repeating those color patterns. Okay, and then so you've got your number cards and number tiles. Of course, the number tiles, that's simply that next step towards abstraction. And then once you're using the number tiles, you're no longer using the number cards that are sized algorithmically for that place value. Pair those with the decimal material. You've got the decimal material and number cards used together. Um, and then those number tiles are for use after those. But with these, they're going to be able to do operations moving all of those materials around. So when they're borrowing or carrying, they will do that exchange with the material, placing that. And as Maria Montessori reminds us, the mind remembers what the hand does. This is just one of those really simple, powerful things in the Montessori method. Those two paired together. And it's something that if you're not using ShillerLearning Math Kit 1, you can purchase at any supply store and add to it. Of course, you can also, we have uh, all of the individual items available through our website also. Okay, you can use real world objects too to supplement. Okay, So for example, with money, this is great for working with the, simple value of money. You can pair that with the unit cubes and 10 rods, 100 flats for showing the values. You can also use it for the coins for doing operations. So grab a handful of change and let your child add that together. Grab another handful and have them add that. And now you have two different numbers, and you can opt to have them add those two quantities together or subtract the smaller from the larger quantity. You can use multiples of a coin for practicing multiplication. So coins, everyone has them, and kids tend to pick up on um, doing math with money uh, often easier and faster than just doing math with paper and pencil. So this is one of those materials um, that is beneficial for adding at different ages. So question on if your child is having trouble with place value. One of the important things with the place value is to learn the physical objects before even associating that physical object with the number card. So, and once they're good with quantities 1 through 9 with the unit cubes, they can learn place value into the thousands, but it is done in those individual components. So just like working with 1 through 9 ones with the cubes, seeing those 1 through 9 tens with just the 10 rods, and the 1 through 9 hundreds with just the 100 flats. And then again, 1 through 9 thousands with just the 1,000 cubes themselves. And then once they're good with those physical quantities of the place value, then we go ahead and correlate those to the number cards. And once they're good with those individual components in both the physical absolute concrete, pairing that with the more abstract number card, once they're good with the individual components, then we start mixing those together. So you can mix two of those place values together. And then once they're good with two, mix three of those place values together. Once they're good with three, then we mix four of those place values together. And this, for some kids, it happens quickly. For some kids, it will happen over time. And, it is important that it's added back to the math work on a regular basis. But at the same time, you want to give your child a break from that, move on to other things because we don't want to bore or frustrate. So, keep those lessons in your column for lessons to be revisited, move on to other things, and then just keep including those back on a regular basis until they are mastered. So I think that will help. Um, and if she um oh, okay, excellent. Yeah, and then if I'm glad that it sounds like that some of those suggestions will be helpful. And if she has trouble with place value after that, give us a call. And Schiller Learning, we do support the curriculum, and you can call and talk to people who actually use the program. And it can be really helpful to talk through challenges that you may be facing. uh, I know yesterday afternoon, I helped a customer whose child was having some challenges with a test, and we came up with some, you know suggestions that it sounded like were going to, really make a difference for her. Every child learns differently. Within the structure of the Schiller Learning curriculum, you've got all four learning styles, that visual, tactile, auditory, and kinesthetic. Um, and so it will work for every type of learner. That's one of the awesome things about it. Um, but sometimes just if something isn't catching on, there might be a little a couple of tweaks that you can make, specifically for your child's personality and how they interact with the curricula. Okay, so decimal fraction chips for the decimals. With these, you get to flip the fraction for its corresponding decimal. There's a fraction on one side and the decimal on the other. If you don't have Schiller Learning curricula, this comes in Math Kit 2. This is something you're going to want to make in a Word document. By adding that placeholder 0, and for a moment, just take your thumb and let's look at the thousandth number, the decimal fraction chip, for example. So you see the fraction side that's showing above, and then the chip underneath it shows the reverse of that. Take your thumb and cover up that placeholder 0. And that's how most programs show the decimal to kids, that 0.001. For a lot of kids, it is really confusing that that is not a hundredth, because it looks like a hundredth, but take off your thumb, let's add that placeholder 0, and now that decimal mirrors your denominator. Uh, one, again, one of those many simple things in Montessori that makes a big difference for a lot of students. And now that tactile learner is going to be able to just simply flip that fraction and get that corresponding decimal. So add that to any math program and your child is going to be a lot happier. Okay, dominoes for addition and subtraction facts. Another great tactile material. These are used in Math Kit 1. And the domino that we use is a 9 domino, so they can work on addition facts up to 18. um, and then, so you're simply, they add or subtract the two sides of the domino together. Another reason that the domino is beneficial is because they're very quickly no longer going to be counting the dots. They will subitize those numbers, be able to just look at that quantity and know what it is. One of the reasons they will do that is seeing patterns in the dots, which is also, as they're working on mastering those addition and subtraction facts, going to help them in multiplication and division later on. Because, for example, the for example, 9 is the 3 rows of 3. And so, that's going to help them when they get to multiplication and division later on. If you are using the dominoes for subtraction, you just want to make sure that your larger number that you will be subtracting from is on the left side, unless, of course, your child has learned negative numbers. So again, this is a material in Math Kit 1 that you can pull out later on when your child is in Math Kit 2 and use in a different way. These are not expressly called for in Math Kit 2, but once your child learns negative numbers, pull the dominoes out and use them for subtraction and just put the larger number on the left. So, in the curriculum, you will see where we say, okay, let's find all the dominoes that sum to, let's say, 7. In the process, the child has to go through and add all of them together to eliminate those that don't sum to 7. Then they're going to write them out as addition equations, write them out as subtraction equations. You can also use this simply as a flashcard, and the child, hold it up, doing addition or subtraction or mixed operations, going back and forth within the set. When the child gets the answer right, you give them that domino. If they get it wrong, it goes back in the pile and they'll get that question again as you work through that whole set. Um, and then once the child has all the dominoes, give them a period of free play with them. They can either play a traditional game of dominoes or simply set them all up and knock them over. But just a period of free time, and the child is likely to, without you ever having to say speed drill, work through them, to do their math portion of it as fast as they can in order to get to that free exploration time after that. Okay. The decimal fraction chips, those are included in Math Kit 2, um, not the fractions kit. If you do find that you are ever missing anything, you are able to reorder individual components, or if your kit ever arrives missing something, just call our toll-free number and we can get you fixed up with that. Okay, shape nets for 3D geometry. This is another thing that's in Math Kit 2. The digital kit has the printout of these. So even if you have the physical kit, kids love to use these. So you can print extras. Um, if you're using it with multiple kids, they're going to appreciate each having their own set, or often even just for that first child as they use them. Um, and if something happens to them, then you have the ability to print a replacement. Now, this is one thing that you actually don't generally want to print out on cardstock. Heavyweight paper is nice, but cardstock is going to make it difficult to actually do the manipulating with these. They're nice printed out on color paper. Color is just, you know, more enjoyable to work with than plain white. But the shape nets, they are going to show you the two-dimensional representation of that surface area of a 3D shape. They're going to create three-dimensional shapes with these. Um, and like many of the other printable manipulatives, if you're not using ShillerLearning Math Kit 2, you can simply go ahead and create something like this in a Word document to print it and cut it out so that your child can create shapes with them. Um, a great way to make a shape net for a sphere, and this is actually one of the lessons in Math Kit 2. They get to have a manipulative and snack all in one. They will take an orange, score that, peel it, lay it out flat, and we'll have created a shape net for a sphere using a natural material and get to have snack all at the same time. So keep that in mind as you are doing geometry. By the way, it is important to include geometry throughout your math work. Um, Kids well, not just kids, people, relate to mathematics in one of two ways, either through geometry or through mathematics. Every math program includes uh, arithmetic, excuse me, geometry or arithmetic. Every math program has arithmetic on a regular basis. However, not every program has geometry. So if your child is one of those people who relates to mathematics primarily through geometry, and it's not being included in their math work on a regular basis, they may mistakenly think that they're simply not a math person. It's important to include that, geometric work on a regular basis. This is a nice way of spicing up your arithmetic work with some periodic geometric activities. Okay, and going back to fractions, we talked about those fraction decimal chips. One of the materials that you can use for the tactile learner is a fractions manipulative, such as fraction circles. That is what's used in the Montessori method. Um, a key, by the way, is to use two sets of that manipulative. And that way, you'll be able to do more with the equivalence and operations, that adding, subtracting, multiplying, and yes, even dividing fractions with the fraction pieces. And so they're going to be able to do those things with their hands um, before they are doing them abstractly with pencil and paper. So I hope you got some ideas that you'll want to incorporate into your learning. Again, all of the components that we looked at today are included either in our kits or in our activity pack downloads. On the screen here, this is our Math Kit 1 that covers pre-K through third grade. Math Kit 2 covers fourth all the way through pre-algebra. The fractions kit is for all ages. And we have gone back, by the way, to the fraction circle containers that are wooden boxes, which make it a lot easier to clean up your fraction materials. You can just sweep those right into the box without having to put them in uh, specific places in order to get them to fit back into their container. And our fraction circles, number cards, number tiles, brand new work mats. The new work mats are absolutely gorgeous. Everything arrived at our warehouse last week. We are really excited about the new materials. Language Arts Kit A, that's generally going to be pre-K kindergarten for most kids when they're learning letter sounds, letter names, beginning to blend simple short vowel words together, beginning grammar. Our Language Arts Kit B, that's going to be first through fourth grades for most kids. And then we do have activity packs that will also help you for your tactile learner. We have a ton of free packs. Oh, and by the way, there are planners. So we've got our parent planner, our student planner, and there are actually some tactile planning activities that your child can do that are in the student planner. We have the road schooling pack, harvest, holiday pack, STEM winter literature, spring pack, and summer pack. They all have excellent tactile activities to engage, again, all learners of all modalities, but especially for your tactile kids. And those are all absolutely free from our blog. So be sure to explore around the blog and check all of those out. Give us your feedback. We'd love to hear how our tactile activities are engaging your student and what your favorite tactile materials are that you are using.